Welcome to our 8th episode of the San Antonio Instructional Influencer Series. The idea for this series is born out of a desire to connect with other educators during a time in which we are all facing unprecedented challenges. Each episode is structured as a conversation, allowing us to ask the questions that we all may have and share some approaches taken to solve common educational issues. Today, I'm sad to announce, today will be our final episode of season 1, because we know that we're entering the busiest time of the year, and we want to pause this series until the fall when we are rested and ready to engage with fresh ideas and new influencer guests. My colleagues and I in the Office of Academics are so pleased with the turnout and the support that we have had throughout this whole project. And more importantly, the opportunity we have had to highlight the amazing talent within our SAISD community. Cumulatively, we have had over 250 participants in our live Zoom sessions, and so far about 400 views or so on the episodes that have posted on YouTube. So also, additionally, we have received several requests for future topics and influencer guests, which we plan to honor when we start back up again in the fall. So thank you all so much for collaborating with us to continually learn, reflect, and grow. Today's episode is leveraging AVID to support academic rigor and student engagement. Our host is Dr. Cynthia Martinez, SAISD coordinator for AVID. And Cynthia has 14 years in education, and she has served as an English teacher and a middle school counselor prior to her current role. We are so happy to have her on our curriculum, instruction, and assessment team. We also have some influencer guests with us representing 2 SAISD schools. From Pershing, we have Dr. Thamesia Handford and her AVID site coordinator, Mrs. Rikki Gipson. Dr. Handford has 20 years in education, in which she has previously served as an elementary teacher, a behavior specialist, a program specialist, and an assistant principal. Dr. Handford also has served as a visiting professor for DeVry University for the past 13 years. Mrs. Gipson has 7 years in education, in which she has previously served as an elementary English teacher and an intervention specialist. We also have from Jefferson High School, Principal Mr. Ralf Halderman and his AVID site coordinator, Mrs. Mary Garcia. Mr. Halderman has 36 years in education, in which he has previously served as a teacher and a coach and an assistant principal. Mrs. Garcia has 31 years in education, in which she has previously served as a teacher, an IB coordinator, and a department chair. I am so excited to hear from these wonderful influencers today, and especially to hear strategies for how we can develop a college and career-going culture in all of our schools. All right, Cynthia, take it away.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm super excited to welcome our AVID family members from Pershing and Jefferson as we talk about leveraging AVID. And so before we get started, one of the things that we like to do is we like to affirm great ideas or great questions. So in the chat, I'm dropping our AVID chat celebrations. It's a list of emojis and they're fun. So when we do AVID claps, we can do them in person, but since we're virtual, we're going to do them virtually. So what I like to do is I just copy and paste my favorite one. And so then I just paste it. So right now I'm pasting my favorite one that says talk about awesome, because talk about awesome, these amazing people we have to speak to us, and also the amazing people we have to listen. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a pretty simple question. And I wanted to ask Dr. Handford and Mr. Halderman to share why AVID. What is your favorite thing about AVID? What is your favorite strategy? Why AVID for your campus?
Well, what I like about AVID is that for us, we're an international baccalaureate school, and I see those two mesh real well together. It addresses the whole child. I look at it as, when I look at the IB mission statement and I look at AVID and what AVID does, I think they're one and the same. It is to develop, inquiring, caring, knowledgeable young men and women that are going to make this world a better place, and giving them the tools to be able to do that. So here at our campus, those students that are not on the IB track but are going to be in the AVID track, we feel like we're hitting all children. All children are having an opportunity to build their skill sets so they can be successful when they leave high school, whatever that may be.
Beautiful. I always say that AVID is the tool, right? And so we talk about learning first, tool second. And I like to use the analogy of going to dinner. When we go to dinner, we sometimes have spaghetti and we need the fork. If we're going to have soup, we're going to need a spoon. If we have steak, we need a knife. And so, you know, with all the different curriculum options that we have, AVID is that tool that is going to give our scholars access to that curriculum. So beautiful. I like how you explicitly said it's not something extra, it's best teaching practices. I apologize. I'm in a sub and I think they're hammering something. So you might hear like a loud thudding. So so it is something that complements our curriculum, right? So it's not something extra, it's that tool, that strategy. So thinking about that strategy, I'm gonna lobby this question to our coordinators. And Ms. Gipson and Ms. Garcia, what is your favorite go-to AVID strategy?
Well, my favorite is focused note-taking. And the reason I like it so much, I tell the kids the story of I was never exposed to note-taking. So I told them my first college class, I copied every single thing the teacher said. And she was like, Ms. Gipson, you were not paying attention. I said, well, I was taking notes. And I did not realize that I was not really taking notes. I was just copying everything. I was not getting the lesson. So that's one of the focuses that I like, because I see the kids expand their knowledge. I see how they manipulate the Cornell notes on their own, and we've watched them grow. That's like my absolute favorite.
We must both be English teachers, because we're always talking about processing text, right? Yeah, we started out with Cornell notes. AVID, you know, that was the hallmark with Cornell notes, and recently in the last 6, 7, 8 years, when they switched over to the focus note piece, it creates a little bit more flexibility. So all subject areas have, you know, you can create your own. And anything that asks students to not only intentionally pull information from text, but also organize it in a particular way, window panes, one pagers, you know, Cornell notes, 2-column notes, any of those, I use those all the time. And you're right. It's not just copy everything down, but it's like, what am I copying and why am I copying it? And I wanted to piggyback on what Cynthia said earlier. It's like AVID is the fork or the knife. And at Burbank, I mean, Jefferson, since we are an IB school and an AVID school, we like to say that IB is the what and AVID is the how. And then the individual has to find their why. But it is just good teaching.
Awesome. So yes, most definitely. I think people like to start with organizational systems and with focused note-taking. Focused note-taking is a record of our thinking and learning. And every time we come back and process our notes, that's a way of studying. So it's different than just cramming and just rereading and reading. You know, every time we come back and highlight or write a summary or write questions, that's how we're studying. So Pershing is a new member of our AVID family, first year of elementary site. Yay, I'm super excited they joined us. Just putting a plug out there, I'm looking for a new elementary to join our family. So with that, Dr. Handford, can you tell us why you decided to bring on AVID this year and what that experience was like for you?
Absolutely. So I was middle school at one point and we had AVID, and that was maybe 10 years ago. So when I came back to elementary, I started with an elementary school that had AVID as well. So when I became the principal here at Pershing, I was determined at some point that we were going to have AVID. I believe in a systems approach. I believe that when we focus on, you know, they talked about note-taking. Note-taking should not begin in college, should not start in high school or middle school. We have to teach our kids those foundational skills here at the elementary level to prepare them for each grade level as they matriculate through the educational process. So for me, it was a no-brainer, but of course, COVID and, you know, starting something new or bringing something on board to a campus after experiencing some of the disruption, you know, I hesitated a little bit, but just for a moment, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, it's not easy bringing on something new after or experiencing COVID, right? That's, you know, teachers will, you know, hang you in effigy for that because it's too much. However, what I focused on and realized as well, you know, with AVID, again, it's just best practice. It's not something that we're adding to, it's a complement of. And we already had practices in place that I believe align very nicely. So for example, our campus we already had binders. Well, now we call it AVID binders. And in every binder from kinder all the way to 5th grade, there's very specific things that we have in those binders, such as the tools that they need, pencils, erasers, highlighters. It's right at their fingertips. And they're not scrambling trying to get those items from their desk and so forth, which allows our students to have more instructional time and focus when the teacher is actually teaching and they're not looking for things. And so again, it was just a matter of what are we already doing well? And let's just call it one thing, which is AVID, that AVID binder. SMART goals, that's something that we were already doing. Now we use the SMART goal document that's provided under AVID. So we use that, we were doing that. So now we use the same thing from kinder all the way to 5th grade. The document looks the same. The other thing that we were doing was focusing on our academic vocabulary, and focusing on the academic vocabulary the same way from one grade level to the next, it helps, right? Because we're looking for that equity across the grade levels and across the not just the grade levels, but also ensuring that what's happening in one class is also happening in another class. So that's why I decided to go ahead and just, you know, incorporate AVID into what we're doing.
You're muted, Mr. Halderman.
Yes, and so coming to Jeff, I was, you know, we did not have AVID on our campus, but, you know, going back to what we were talking about, you know, looking at those strategies, schools are doing it, you know, worldwide. They're just not calling it AVID. Some of them aren't, but when you look at those strategies, but coming in new to AVID, also coming in as an international baccalaureate school. So I had my work cut out for me because I had to make sure that both of those programs were going to be at the forefront. I immersed myself in professional development. I relied heavily on our leadership, Mr. Reyes, Ms. Garcia, and our current AVID teachers. You know, they were very, they were a great resource for me. I wanted to ensure that, you know, one of the, you know, the IB wasn't overlooking the AVID and AVID wasn't overlooking IB. I really worked hard in making sure those two, we call them programs, they mesh together. Those two curriculums mesh together. I made myself available, and Mary can tell you this, at all our site team meetings. I tried to be there, you know, you know, to show my support for that program. So it was very important for me I have my AVID binder right here. I keep it next to me, just like we ask our kids in our AVID elective courses to do that. So for me, it was just about making sure that I educated myself and I understood the nuances of that, and make sure I reached out to our leadership that was already here to ensure we were going to be able to move forward. And I'm just very blessed that I have the support here, you know, at Jeff over the last to do that. I feel like I'm comfortable now being able to talk a little bit about AVID than I was, you know, 4 years ago.
Awesome. And you know what, AVID school-wide starts at the top, right? You guys set the tone for everything. And so it's very important to make sure that AVID is not something extra, but it's making those intentional connections to what already exists on our campus, or where do we need to grow and refine on our campus, and how can AVID support us, right? So we don't ever want to do something that's not supporting what our individual campus goals are. That's what AVID is for, is to help leverage that and support our current campus goals. So when you walk through the halls of Pershing or you walk through the halls of Jefferson, how does Wicker pop? And for those who aren't familiar with Wicker, Wicker stands for writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. So if your walls could talk, what would be popping out of your walls, or what would be popping from your scholars when we walk through the halls of your class, of your schools? And anybody can answer that question.
At Jefferson, we intentionally married the two programs that we have. Well, it's a system and a program, and you know what I'm saying. IB has what we call approaches to learning skills, ATL skills. And they are like lockstep with Wicker. And so we created these charts. We changed it from Wicker Wednesday to Transformational Tuesday. It's right there. He's got one in front of him. And what it is basically is it's several different parts. Of course, it's an organizer, so we like that, right? But we've done several PD sessions where we focused in on essential questions. What is this teacher hoping the students learn, right? What is it that the students want to, we want the students to kind of walk away with and be able to answer. So the essential question is a part of it. And then as Cynthia said, in content first and then tools second. And so which Wicker strategies are you going to incorporate in order to have the students answer that question? Which ATL skills does that match? We do that once a week at least. Every teacher has a chart and they literally post it on the outside of their door. So I get to go and very easily gather evidence. It's proof. And if it looks really interesting, I peek in and I add myself to the classroom and get to observe. But it's one of our ways of ensuring that it's intentional and it's incorporated on a regular basis, and we are continuing that meshing, not mashing, of the two components on our campus every day. You'll also see a lot of stuff on the walls. We're a high school, but when you walk our walls, you would not know that we were a high school because our teachers love to celebrate student learning. And so that's another way that our walls pop.
And I like the way she was talking about just going to the different classrooms. We have AVID walks where we will come together as an AVID team. We'll include the reading leaders on campus, admin, and we'll just walk through. We'll split up, walk through, and we'll discuss what we see in the classrooms as far as AVID. And that's a big collaboration that I think I was not familiar with until I came to Pershing, and it's like so insightful.
Absolutely. One of the things I just heard, the meshing, not mashing. Thank you. I'm gonna steal that. So I appreciate that. But certainly, like Ms. Gipson said, with the collaboration piece, yes, we started with organization because we had a lot of those components. With the collaboration, our students do talk. They use their their scripts so that they are complementing one another when they either agree or disagree with a statement that's being made. And those skills, students have to learn those skills. And again, it shouldn't be when they get to middle school, high school, they need to learn in kinder, first grade, how to add on to what another student is saying by saying to the class as a whole, I like what such and such said, I like to add on to. And so, but it takes the time where you have to provide that explicit instruction in the classroom to teach students how to listen, how to learn from one another, how to add, not subtract from one another. So for our environment, our kids can be extremely competitive. And it's great to be competitive, but it has to be healthy, right? Where kids still feel safe to be able to add to what others are saying. And so that's one of the things you will hear and see at Pershing is students adding to what other students are saying by actually saying, I like to add to what such and such said. So it's great to hear and see our young people doing that.
Awesome. So I hear a lot of collaboration. I hear a lot of academic language, some risk-taking of our scholars. And so I really appreciate how it's not just you go to the Summer Institute and you get your training once, but this is returning to the training, returning to the practices, learning from each other, making it a routine. And so that's how you push AVID school-wide. So you guys are great models for that, and I appreciate that. So as we're thinking about, I think we talked a little bit about how increased student engagement, how has it helped with the academic rigor?
I want to add, and I'd like to add to that. And I think, one of the things we're seeing, our students are getting into college, but are they successful when they get there? And I really believe that the AVID is helping our students do that. The soft skills that they're getting is allowing them to be successful when they get there. The writing piece, the collaboration piece, the inquiry piece, all those pieces together. I think it's helped our students. I've seen that over the last 4 years, and I would love to see, if there was a way we could go back and look at that, not only how many kids are getting into school, but how many are finishing within 5 years, how many are getting there, and how many of those students went to an AVID school that were exposed to the AVID teaching and learning philosophy. That would be interesting to me.
I agree that with AVID, when we think of rigor, is basically getting our students to think in new ways, getting our students to dive deep in their learning. With the Rigor strategies, with the inquiry, collaboration, with the writing, and those reading strategies, it does promote for our students to dive deeper into their learning, opposed to that surface, right? It's not how much you know, is if you're able to actually explain. And what we try to promote, and if we think about even the STAR redesign, right? That's going to require that critical thinking, that problem solving. AVID promotes that as it relates to the strategies that's embedded in the reading, the writing, the inquiry, the collaboration. And so that's what I've been able to see here at the campus. When you have first graders and second graders taking notes when they're doing like Imagine Math, iStation, that's part of what they're required to do. They have to take those notes, not just from note taking from what the teacher is saying, or when they watch a video on some type of, on a topic, is anytime that they are in, small group interventions, they have to take notes so that they can really hold on to information, so that they can, transfer those skills in other areas.
Most definitely. With AVID, we're trying to teach them the academic skills and habits that they need to be successful. And so all of these strategies provide them the opportunity to engage with each other, to engage with their text, to engage in their learning, to manage their time, to organize their thoughts, their materials. And so, this really plays hand in hand with rigor. So in the chat, I'm going to drop a quote from our founder of AVID, Mary Catherine Swanson. And Mary Catherine used to say that rigor without support is a prescription for failure, and support without rigor is a tragic waste of potential. So just as Mr. Halderman mentioned that, we can get them across our stage and accepted into college, but if they're not successful in persisting through college and beyond and in life, then we haven't really set them up for success. And so AVID really provides that opportunity to do that. So as we think about AVID, I'm going to use one of our strategies, and I'm going to put in a sentence frame in the chat for our guest to complete. And so if we implement AVID strategies school-wide, then blank, so that blank, right? So this helps us organize our thinking. So if we implement AVID strategies school-wide, so then blank, so that blank. So whoever would like to tackle our sentence stem first and be our academic risk taker.
If we implement AVID school-wide, then all students are exposed to the strategies and the thinking levels that they need so that they can be successful with whatever they choose to pursue.
All right, drop some rubber band clap in there for you, Mary. Anybody else? That as well. If we implement AVID strategies school-wide, then blank, so that blank.
So if we implement AVID strategies school-wide, then all students and teachers will have greater success and outcomes.
Awesome, thank you.
And I included teachers because when we look at AVID, it helps us. You just mentioned, Dr. Martinez, the time materials and thoughts. Again, it categorized things in such a great way that it keeps us, the staff, the teachers, organized in how we basically manage our day. So I, like Halderman said, he has his AVID binder. I have my journal. I use my journal. That's how I take my notes. That's how I follow up with my teachers, my parents, and my staff. So.
And I believe, Dr. Handford, all of your staff has AVID binders that they take to their
Yes. Yes,
right?
that is correct. And in addition to that, we had a family AVID night. And so some of our family members have created binders as well.
So thinking forward, right? So Dr. Handford, Pershing's first year, Mr. Halderman, we just met this morning. We're on the cusp of a revalidation for next school year. So what does the future of AVID look like at Pershing and Jefferson?
So for Pershing, after our first year, we have taken quite a bit of notes. And I do want to say this about you, Dr. Martinez, just the support that we get from your department is tremendous. We, again, it wasn't easy necessarily implementing AVID from the standpoint of, we also were a 2.0 Lighthouse campus, where there were other initiatives. And so it's really about marrying the two, which is why meshing, not mashing, is going to be my mantra. And so moving forward, it's really unpacking the rest of Wicker, focusing on the reading strategies, expanding more on the organizational component. The writing piece of it, we know is going to be critical. When our students are good readers, they become great writers. And so just taking our time and really unpacking each component year after year. We know that this is for a long haul. I'm so excited to hear a campus have had AVID for 11 years, right? Is that 11 years, or has it been longer than that?
Well, they've had AVID. So we actually started AVID in the San Antonio district in 1997.
Right.
We were the first district in Texas. So Jefferson was one of the first, but they've been a national demonstration site for 11 years.
That's exciting. So for us, I want to get there. So, but unpacking one layer at a time.
I can remember having that conversation when I first met Dr. Handford, and she was just, she met with every staff member, and it was like yesterday. She was like, oh, I want to do this. And in a few years, we're going to be an AVID campus. And I was like, I wonder if she knows we're not middle school. And I was like, oh, okay. And as long as it's not me that's over it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And here we are. So our motto, we have a new motto: go to Pershing, go to college. So we want our name to be synonymous with AVID, and all of our kids. It's not if you go to college. If you choose to go, you go. But if you want to go a career path, that's fine. But we believe every student, no matter the background, we have 99% free and reduced. That does not matter. And we're still going to go to college. That's what we feel on campus. That's a culture shift. That's our climate.
So I just want to just say this real quick. I always tell them it's, our kids can because you're their teacher. And if they can't, it's because you're their teacher. So you have to have a mindset that our kiddos can, and they will. It is our job to give them the option. Make sure that they have options, right? And so, yes, Ms. Gipson, I didn't know that's what you thought about it when I brought it up 3 years ago.
I didn't know you. I thought maybe you thought that this was a middle school because we had 6th graders. I didn't know. You were new. I didn't want to offend you. And so I was like, yay, okay.
And here we are today.
And here we are.
Thank you, ladies. And for us, I just want to continue to promote AVID as a school-wide culture. I want to make sure that it's wall to wall, and being able to mesh that with our International Baccalaureate program. I also, we talked earlier about, where do we want to go from here? We want to really improve in the area of our tutorial process here at Jefferson High School. I think that's one component that I believe we want to grow in. And I think if we do that, we're going to be able to just take it to another level. I think in the content area, I think we're doing well. We're doing well in that area. I want to ensure that we maintain, I think continuity is important, with Mr. Reyes and with Mary Garcia. They've been amazing leaders on this campus, keeping AVID there alive, and hopefully they feel like they've gotten the support from me to be able to go forward in that direction. So yes, I want us to continue to be that national demonstration school that people can come to and hopefully learn and maybe take things from us and bring it to their own campuses.
Great things on the horizon for Pershing and Jefferson and all of our AVID schools. We currently have 29, and I'm going to say it again, I'm looking for that magic number 30, a new elementary. So with that, let's close our session today. And I want to ask our participants, what would you say to a colleague, a principal or a teacher? What would you say to them about why AVID? Why should they either bring AVID to their campus, or if they already have AVID on their campus, why should they try to lift it up and make it part of their school instead of being a school that has AVID, be an AVID school? What would you say to a colleague or a peer?
AVID teaches the whole child, and that is important. It teaches children to be successful in whatever they want to do with all of the different rigorous opportunities that they have at Jefferson. You get ready through AVID, and we start with relationships and we finish with relationships, and that's what's most important.
Well said. So the only thing I would add is every child, every classroom, and every content, AVID. That's what it equals for us.
I would say if they thought about it, would they have wanted AVID when they were younger? If you're really invested in the future of your students, and that's what I feel like a teacher should be. If you're not, this is not your profession, but AVID does that. And like you all said, it teaches the whole child, no matter what. It does not look at your background. And I think that's what I would say to it. And that's what I have said to, just people I've spoken to. You need to, this is what you need. You're missing something if you don't have it.
Yeah, AVID really is a family. That's the last thing, the site team, our leadership team. And that is something that I have to commend Mr. Halderman for. When he came in, that was his priority, is to build relationships. And AVID was right up there. AVID and IB both kind of have that philosophy, but you got to build those relationships. And we are a family. We look out for each other. The kids look out for each other. And that's what keeps you coming back, when you have someplace to go.
All right. So we are right at the 45, and I want to thank all of our guests for such an inspiring morning and really sharing the power of AVID. And we have so many fabulous AVID educators and AVID schools, but do not worry. We are part of curriculum instruction assessment. So there is AVID in everything. So you're going to see it integrated in all our core. There's Rigor quick guide on everybody's instructional plans on our website. So you definitely have access and resources to all things AVID for every scholar, because we want to make sure that they have opportunities to be successful in whatever post-secondary path that they look for. And so I invite you guys as our guests to put in some AVID chat celebrations for our fabulous speakers. And then I'm going to turn it over to Kendra.
Okay, thank you guys. I agree with Cynthia. Give these presenters some love. They did an amazing job. So many great things that we can take away from this conversation. And I think of all the things, what resonated the most with me is that we are hearing ways to not just help kids pass a test or get into college. Like, we are developing the whole child and developing them with skills that will help them be successful in life. And so I love that you ended, Ms. Garcia, with this idea of community and caring for others, and just building up the child. I think this is just such a uplifting conversation, extremely inspiring, and I am excited of the leadership we have from Mr. Halderman, Dr. Handford, and particularly Cynthia in our C&I department, and how she is influencing all campuses, whether they have AVID or not, to ensure that all of our kids get the opportunity to develop skills that will help them be successful in life. So thank you guys so much.